Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyghur, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. DSS confirms plot to install interim government, warns misguided politicians. Representatives summon army chief over attack on Benue lawmaker. Plus, China vows to fight back if Taiwan side meets with U.S. House Speaker McCarthy. Details of these stories and more in a moment. A first report tonight is from the Department of State Services DSS, which says the plot to set aside the Constitution and install an interim government by misguided political actors is real. DSS spokesman Peter Afanaya made the confirmation in a statement today, saying the secret police will use all arsenals at its disposal to frustrate such plots. The secret police also said some key players in the plot for an interim government in Nigeria have been identified. From the Green Chambers now, where the House of Representatives has summoned the Chief of Army Staff Farouk Yahaya and the Chief of Defense Staff Lucky Rabo over an alleged attack on a Benue lawmaker, Pam Sokbo. The resolution followed a motion moved by Mark Bieler today. In his motion, Bieler said the soldiers attacked the lawmaker alongside some other civilians during the governorship election on March 18. He explained the soldiers stormed the Old Barn Hotel, Boko, in Benue State and assaulted Sokpo and the others. He also alleged that same soldiers killed 2 persons in an extrajudicial manner. Still from the Green Chambers now, where the House of Representatives has approved the request by the federal government to borrow over $973 million from China Development Bank. This followed the decision by the China Exim Bank to reject Nigeria's $22 billion loan request earlier approved by the National Assembly. The chairman of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Abubakar Fulata, moved a motion for the Legislative Chamber to amend its resolution granting approval for the failed loan deal. Moving the motion, Fulata said the House noted that the 2016 to 2018 federal government external borrowing rolling plan was approved by the Senate and the House of Representatives on March 5, 2020 and June 2, 2020, respectively. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has passed for second reading a bill seeking to prevent lopsidedness in the appointment of persons as chairman and secretary of the Federal Character Commission (FCC). Reports say when the bill proposal becomes law, it will make it impossible for the chairman and secretary of the FCC to come from the 2 regions, north and south of the country. The lawmaker Misguided, who is representing Okanafun and Orogonam Federal Constituency in Akwa Ibom State, while leading the debate on the bill, recalled that the legislation was read for the first time on July 15, 2021. He noted that the bill seeks to amend the provision of the Act to reinstate the position that the 2 critical positions to be appointed by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria be expressly and mandatorily from each region of the country for the effective running and administration of the objectives of setting up of the Commission. In the meantime, the House of Representatives has urged the relevant ministries, departments and agencies of the federal government to apply a doctrine of necessity in the reintegration of Nigerian students evacuated from Ukraine following the invasion of the Eastern European country by Russia. At the plenary, the House particularly urged the Federal Ministry of Education, National Universities Commission, Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board and the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria to ensure a seamless continuation of their education in Nigeria. The House also recommended that For other levels 1 to 5, the Federal Ministry of Education, JAM, and the NUC are to ensure that the students are accommodated in the appropriate levels. To the red chambers now, where the Senate has approved the request of President Muhammadu Buhari to establish 10 new national parks across the country. The Senate's resolution followed the consideration and approval of a motion on the National Park Declaration Order 22, sponsored by the Senate leader Ibrahim Govt. Govt explained that Buhari had written to the Senate on November 16, 2022, requesting the concurrence of the Senate to the National Park Declaration Order 2022 in consonance with Section 18 of the National Park Service Act 2004. He said the National Park Declaration Order seeks to establish 10 additional national parks based on due feasibility studies and environmental impact assessment in 12 selected forests and game reserves in various states of the Federation. He listed the parks to include the Alawa National Parks, Niger State, Apoy National Park, Bayelsa State, Edumenu National Park, Bayelsa State, Galgori National Park, Kano State, Hadejia Wetland National Park, Jigawa State, among others. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has sworn in former Inspector General of Police Solomon Arase as the new chairman of the Police Service Commission (PSC). Arase's swearing in preceded the meeting of the Federal Executive Council (FEC) and came 2 months after the Senate confirmed him as chairperson of the PSC. Buhari had forwarded Arase's name to the Senate for confirmation in line with Sections 153 subsection 1 and 154 subsection 1 of the Constitution as amended. Arase, who retired in 2016, was the 18th indigenous Inspector General of Police from April 2015 through June 2016. Meanwhile, the president also swore in 5 board members of the Code of Conduct Bureau (CCB), namely Morutala Kankia from Katsina State, Northwest, Zephaniah Bulus from Nasarawa State, North Central, and Farouk Umar from Yobe, Northeast, amongst others. Reports say the council members observed a moment of silence in honor of retired Lieutenant General Oladipo Dia, who died on Sunday. Dia served as Chief of General Staff and Vice Chairman of the Provisional Ruling Council under the Abacha regime. Away from that, now Niger State Judicial Service Commission has fired the Magistrate Court judge in Salka Magama local government area of the state with immediate effect. The judge was sacked over alleged gross misconduct and abuse of judicial power. This was made known by the Secretary of the Commission, Abdulrahman Garafini, in Mina today. Garafini noted that the decision of the Commission was taken at the Commission's 136th meeting on March 21, 2023, after consideration of the recommendations of the Justice Mohammed-led committee set up to look into petitions against the judges. According to Garafini, out of 7 petitions, 3 were against Iya, 2 were sufficiently proved by the petitioners, and the judge unequivocally admitted the allegations brought against him. Meanwhile, Supreme Court has dismissed a suit brought before it against Senator Elisha Abo, challenging his candidacy as the All Progressives Congress APC representative for Adamawa North Senatorial District in the last National Assembly election. Justice Iai Okoro, in a unanimous judgment of a 5-member panel of justices, dismissed the suit for lacking in merit. One Abdullahi Suleiman had dragged the senator to court challenging his emergence at the primary election conducted by the APC for Adamawa North Senatorial District. However, the Apex Court held that Suleiman was not competent to challenge the outcome of the election, having not participated in the said election. The appellant, therefore, through his counsel, withdrew the appeal, and the Apex Court subsequently dismissed it. Away from that now, the federal government has given their assurance that the transition of power from President Muhammadu Buhari to the President-elect Bola Tinubu will be smooth and peaceful. This was as the government said the refurbishment of offices for the president and vice president-elect had been completed. Addressing journalists in Abuja, the chairman of the Transition Committee, Bas Mustafa, stressed that litigation would not stop the handover ceremony from taking place. Mustafa noted that the Security Subcommittee had been saddled with the responsibility to ensure no one truncates the handover.
As far as the Presidential Transition Council is concerned, that's the essence of our setting up the various committees. The Inauguration Committee, which has responsibility for the processes of the inauguration, the swearing in, the parades, the activities preceding the formal handover of power. The Security Facilities and Intelligence Committee has the responsibility to ensure that nothing happens to truncate the process. So I can give you every form of assurance that Nigerians are very law-abiding people. Whoever has lost an election, we have provided for avenues for those people to ventilate whatever legal inquiry they want to do. But the process will continue unabated, and I can assure you that we are putting everything in place to ensure that the formal processes of handover takes place, and we do not create any political or constitutional crisis. 29th of May 2023.
On electoral matters now, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has commenced the presentation of certificates of return to the governors-elect in 26 states where winners have been declared following the conclusion of the March 18 elections. Also, certificates were to be presented to the lawmakers-elect in the relevant state legislatures across the 36 states of the Federation. In a statement last Saturday, INEC National Commissioner Festus Okoye had noted that Section 72, Subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022 provides that the Commission is mandated to issue a certificate of return within 14 days to every candidate who has been returned elected under the law. Consequently, INEC fixed today through Friday for the issuance of certificates of return to winners of the March 18 elections, adding that the presentations would take place in INEC offices in each state. According to reports, the results of 26 of the 28 governorship elections have so far been announced, leaving the elections in Kebbi and Adamawa, which were declared inconclusive. Meanwhile, supplementary elections are to be held in both states on Saturday, April 15. Meanwhile, ahead of the governorship primaries in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states, the Labour Party LP says the nomination fee for aspirants has been reduced from 25 million naira to 15 million naira. Spokesperson for the Obidati Presidential Campaign Council (PCC), Kenneth Okonkwo, in a series of tweets Monday, had cried out over the 25 million naira governorship nomination fee, describing it as exorbitant. However, today Okonkwo took to Twitter to share the revised charge for the LP governorship nomination forms. According to him, the LP had taken note of the suggestions of Nigerians that a party of working-class Nigerians should settle for a nomination fee of no more than 15 million naira for the post of a governor. In another development, the National Population Commission (NPC) has emphasized that the May 3 population and housing census will not canvass questions on religious affiliation. This was contained in a statement by the Director of Public Affairs (NPC) Isiaka Yahaya in Abuja today. The Commission was reacting to an audio tape going viral on WhatsApp that religious affiliations of respondents will be canvassed. Hence, the Commission urged Nigerians to dismiss such claims. In a separate development, the Special Investigative Panel on Oil Theft and Losses in Nigeria has submitted its report to the National Security Advisor Babagana Monguno in Abuja. The head Strategic Communication Office of the National Security Advisor Zakari Usman in a statement noted that prompt implementation of the report would not only create an immediate impact on crude oil production levels to meet the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries OPEC quota, but would also attract foreign direct investment and serve Nigeria's economic and national security concerns. While submitting the report, the chairman of the panel, Barry Ndiomo, said the panel engaged key stakeholders from within and outside the oil and gas industry, including state governments, ministries, departments and agencies, security agencies, regulatory agencies, international and indigenous oil companies, traditional institutions, host communities, artisanal refiners, among others. Still on petroleum matters, the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasan, has called on the federal government to stop subsidizing premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol. It also called on the government to ensure the speedy rehabilitation of Nigeria's refineries, stressing that it would help ease the hardship that could arise from the halt of fuel subsidy. Pengasan's president, Festus Osifo, disclosed this while speaking with journalists at the National Executive Council meeting of the association in Abuja. He explained that functional local refineries would not only increase the country's revenue base, but provide more job opportunities, as well as end the uncertainties in the fuel subsidy administration and product importation. Still to come in the news. EU removes Pakistan from list of high-risk countries. Do stay with us.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on Star Times DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air. With a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian. From issues on politics,
hello Nigeria, I remain committed.
Security, education, health, lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyekan every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my Lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Thanks for staying tuned. We move on now to Africa, where Zambia's government has warned the opposition against holding anti-gay rights protests during U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris's visit in the country. Opposition Patriotic Front (PF) party plans to hold protests ahead of Democracy Summit being hosted in the capital, Lusaka. Harris will arrive in the Southern Africa country on Friday and is scheduled to make an address at the summit, which is jointly being hosted by Zambia, the US, Costa Rica, the Netherlands and South Korea. According to reports, some 50 opposition members of parliament have claimed without evidence that the event is part of an agenda to impose gay rights on Zambians. Meanwhile, Amnesty International Zambia has called on the government to take a strong stand in support of LGBTQ rights and to ensure that the summit is not disrupted by protests. Meanwhile, the United States has urged all political sides in Kenya to refrain from violence and security forces to act with restraint during protests. State Department Deputy Spokesman Vedant Patel said the U.S. regretted the loss of life and damage to property in the recent protests, adding that the right to peaceful assembly was a core aspect of democracy. Still in Africa, the governor of Kisumu in western Kenya, the stronghold of opposition leader Raila Odinga, has suspended opposition protests in the country. Governor Anyang' Nyong'o said protesters would instead go to the capital, Nairobi, to join the demonstrations that have been called for twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays by Odinga. According to reports, they are to protest against the high cost of living and what Odinga calls electoral justice after last year's election. Nyong'o said he had taken the decision after consultations with his party. It is unclear how he intends to enforce the suspension, especially with more fanatical supporters. On the foreign scene now, where King Charles III landed in Germany today to begin his first state visit abroad since becoming British monarch, as part of efforts to turn the page on years of rocky relations between Great Britain and the European Union after its exit from the bloc. Charles, who succeeded his mother Queen Elizabeth II as the British monarch in September, had been due to travel first to France, but cancelled that part of the tour due to violent social unrest over President Emmanuel Macron's new pension law. According to Buckingham Palace, during his three-day visit to the capital, Berlin, the eastern state of Brandenburg, and the northern port city of Hamburg, Charles will address issues facing Germany and the UK, such as sustainability and the Ukraine crisis, as well as commemorate the past. Still on the foreign scene, France's highest constitutional authority today said it will rule on President Emmanuel Macron's controversial pension reform on April 14. The reforms were passed by Parliament on March 16 after the government used a mechanism to bypass a vote of members of parliament inflaming nationwide protests. They were considered adopted by Parliament when the government survived 2 no-confidence motions on March 20. But the reforms can only come into law once they are validated by the Constitutional Council, which has the power to strike out some or even all of the legislation if deemed out of step with the Constitution. According to reports, the first will be on whether the legislation is in line with the French Constitution. Still in France now, a woman in northern France is to be put on trial on charges of insulting President Emmanuel Macron after describing him as filth in a Facebook post. The woman risks a fine of 12,000 euros, but not prison if convicted at the trial due to be held in June. According to the prosecutor in the northern town of Saint-Omer, Mehdi Benbouzid, she was arrested on Friday and held in custody for questioning after the state local administrative office filed a complaint over her Facebook post. The complaint focused on a post on her Facebook page made on March 21, the day before Macron gave a lunchtime interview to newsmen to defend his controversial pension reforms that have sparked nationwide protests. In the meantime, Pope Francis offered condolences today to the Nashville school devastated by a deadly shooting, condemning the senseless act of violence and urging the community to have faith faced with unspeakable evil. The telegram signed by Vatican Secretary of State Pietro Parolin said the Pope was deeply saddened by the shooting on Monday, in which a former student killed 3 staff and 3 young children. Regarding the families of the victims, he also praised that they will be confirmed in their faith in the power of the risen Lord to heal every hurt and to bring good out of unspeakable evil. Meanwhile, the Vatican said today that Pope Francis, aged 86, was in hospital in Rome for previously scheduled health checks without giving further details. The pontiff, who earlier this month marked 10 years as head of the Catholic Church, had earlier appeared in good spirits at his weekly audience at the Vatican, smiling as he greeted the faithful from his Pope mobile. However, he was seen grimacing as he was helped getting into the vehicle. Pope Francis suffers from chronic knee pain that has forced him to rely on a wheelchair in recent months. The Gemelli was the same hospital where the Pope underwent an operation on his colon in July 2021 after suffering from a type of diverticulitis, an inflammation of pockets that develop in the lining of the intestine. Elsewhere, Humza Yousaf was sworn in as Scotland's first minister today, becoming the first Muslim leader of a government in Western Europe, but already facing unrest in his party. At 37, Yousaf is also the youngest leader yet of the Scottish National Party (SNP) and is vowing to reinvigorate its flagging campaign for independence. But after he won the race to succeed the long-serving Nicola Sturgeon on Monday, his leadership was already being questioned after defeated rival Kate Forbes refused to serve in his cabinet. Meanwhile, the outgoing finance minister was offered a more junior role by Yousaf despite coming close to victory. She ended with 48% of the preferential votes of SNP members to his 52%. In the meantime, China vowed today to fight back should Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen meet the U.S. House Speaker during a trip to the United States. Tsai left today for the United States, from where she will head to Guatemala and Belize to shore up ties with diplomatic allies. On her way back to Taiwan, she will stop in California, where U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy had said he would meet her. China claims the democratic island as part of its territory to be retaken one day, and under its One China principle, no country may maintain official ties with both Beijing and Taipei. Beijing warned today that it was resolutely opposed to any meeting between Tsai and McCarthy and vowed to take resolute measures to fight back if it goes ahead. Meanwhile, United States Department of State has announced 15% hike in fees for certain non-immigrant visa applications, including travel visas. It said the fee for B1 and B2 visitor visas, border crossing cards for Mexican citizens aged 15 and above, and student and exchange visitor visas will increase from $160 to $185. Also, the fees for certain non-immigrant visas for temporary workers, HLOPQ and R categories will increase from $190 to $205. Meanwhile, the fee for treaty trader, treaty investor and treaty applicants in a specialty occupation E category will increase from $205 to $315. According to reports, these increases were published in the Federal Register on March 28, 2023 and will be effective on May 30, 2023. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. We have Blyden Ukem standing by.
Thank you, Xavier Roberts. Good evening and welcome to Business News. My name is Blyden Ukem. The European Union has removed Pakistan from its list of high-risk third countries, a move that is expected to improve conditions for business activity. In a statement announcing the news today, Pakistan's Ministry of Commerce said the listing of Pakistan in 2018 has resulted in creating a regulatory burden affecting Pakistanis companies doing business with a 27-member bloc. Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari said in a Twitter post that Pakistani businesses and individuals would no longer be subjected to enhanced customer due diligence by European legal and economic operators. In Nigeria, the National Bureau of Statistics has revealed that domestic air transport fares increased by 66.36% in the last 1 year. In its latest report titled Transport Fare Watch February 2023, the NBS stated that the average fare paid by air passengers in air travel for specified routes for a single journey decreased by 0.18% on a month-on-month basis from 74,702 naira in January 2023 to 74,571 naira in February 2023. It, however, rose by 66.36% year-on-year from 44,825 naira in February 2022. Zenith Bank PLC grew its gross earnings by 24% from 765.6 billion naira as of the end of 2021 financial period to 945.5 billion naira in the corresponding period of 2022. The bank disclosed this in a statement on Tuesday on its audited results for the year ending December 31st, 2022. As part of its commitment to shareholders, the bank also announced a proposed final dividend payout of 2 naira 90 kobo per share, bringing the total dividend to 3 naira 20 kobo per share. According to the bank, impairments grew by 107% from 59.9 billion naira to 124.2 billion naira, while interest expense grew by 63% year-on-year from 106.8 billion naira to 173.5 billion naira respectively. It's time for the Nigerian stock market report. At the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the benchmark All-Share Index moved up 479.17 basis points to close at 53,603.8 points. Compared with the previous trading day, Today's data shows 16% improvement in volume, 59% improvement in turnover, and 27% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 29.2 trillion naira in aggregate. 107 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 22 gainers and 14 losers. Owando led the gainers with 9.84% share price appreciation, closing at 4 naira 91 kobo per share. On the losing side, May and Baker Nigeria came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 8.7% at 4 naira 20 kobo per share. Transcorp Nigeria recorded the highest volume of 91.4 million traded shares. This is all on business news. I'm back to Xavier Robert for the rest of the news.
Many thanks, Blyden. Still to come in the news. The Channel topples Sissipas in Miami Open. To stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. Now in health, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention (NCDC) says death toll from Lassa fever in Nigeria so far this year has risen to 142. The NCDC in its 11th week Lassa fever situation report said there had been a total of 784 confirmed cases recorded from 23 states and 97 local government areas since the beginning of the year. Meanwhile, a total of 3,826 suspected cases were recorded from January through March 19, 2023. With the current death toll, the Public Health Institution noted that the case fatality ratio of the outbreak stood at 18.1%. It added that the predominant age group affected in the country is 21 through 30 years. With the male to female ratio for confirmed cases being 10:9. Still in health, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control (NAFDAC) has warned Nigerians not to use unapproved cosmetics as a result of the dangers associated to it. The Director General NAFDAC, Mojisola Adeyeye, who was represented by Dr. Leonard Omokbariola, Director, Drug Evaluation and Research, gave the warning during the media sensitization workshop on the dangers of bleaching creams and regulatory controls for South journalists in Port Harcourt. Adeyeye said the menace of unapproved cosmetics such as bleaching creams in Nigeria had become a national health emergency that required multifaceted regulatory approach. According to him, unapproved cosmetics use banned and toxic chemicals to achieve skin lightening effects that leave the user with undesirable effects, noting that some of the harmful effects of bleaching creams include cancer and damage to vital organs of the body, like the kidney and liver. Let's head over now to Isaac for latest sports stories.
Well, thank you very much, Xavier Roberts. In sports, Karin Kakadov ended his victory drought against top 10 opponents in style yesterday at the Miami Open, where the world number 16 defeated Stefanos Tsitsipas 7-6, 6-4 to reach the quarterfinals at the ATP Masters 1000 event. Kakadov entered the match with a record of no wins and 6 losses, ATP head-to-head record against the Greek, but produced a confident display full of ground strokes off both wings on grandstand. Kachanov has now reached the quarterfinals in 4 of the 6 tour-level events he has played this year. Kachanov's run to his maiden quarterfinal in Miami has lifted him 2 spots to number 14 in the ATP rankings. The 26-year-old's next opponent will be 25th seeded Francisco Sorrentolo or Lorenzo Sonego. Talking about football, Tottenham Hotspur Managing Director Fabio Paratici may have to step away from his role after FIFA extended his ban in Italy worldwide. Paratici was given a 13-month ban in January after his former club Juventus was found guilty of false accounting. The 50-year-old was sporting director and managing director at Juventus before joining Tottenham in June 2021. Paratici and Juventus have both appealed against the decision. Paratici's initial ban only applied to Italian football, meaning he was able to continue working at Tottenham. The extension of the ban coincides with Tottenham's search for a new manager following the departure of Antonio Conte. Finally, let's talk about the Premier League. Liverpool winger Luis Diaz has returned to training after missing 5 months of action due to injury. Diaz sustained a knee problem in October against Arsenal and was rolled out of action for the Reds. He's now resumed first-team training to give Jurgen Klopp's side a boost ahead of the last 10 games of the Premier League. Liverpool have struggled for form in his absence and have a tough run of fixtures with Manchester City, Arsenal and Chelsea clashes coming up forward. Diaz is expected to be on the bench when Liverpool take on Manchester City at the Etihad later this Saturday. But that's it on sports. My name is Isaac. Well, back to you, Xavier.
Thanks, Isaac. And now on our entertainment news, police have condemned the actions of singer Habib Okikiola, aka Portable. Force headquarters said his action is criminal and punishable by the criminal laws of Nigeria. Reacting to the development, the Force Public Relations Officer CSP Olumuyiwa Dejobi, in a statement in Abuja, said the action of the singer in the video was unruly and conduct likely to cause a breach of peace and incitement of violence against the officers who were detailed to execute a warrant of arrest on him for a series of allegations of criminal acts leveled against him. Still on entertainment, Nigerian rapper and singer John Njenga Njeng, popularly known as Skills, has announced the arrival of his first child with his wife Precious. The music star, who recently apologized to his wife over his demonizing comments about her in the diss track last year, took to his Instagram page to share the good news today. However, the 31-year-old did not reveal the gender of their child, sharing a picture of himself holding the child's hand. Skills wrote, open quote, "God gave me an amazing pre-birthday gift," close quote. Meanwhile, Nigerian Idol is set to return for its 8th season in April this year. Multi-Choice Nigeria announced the show, and judges return at a media launch in the company's multi-purpose Lagos studio. According to them, popular TV personality Ike Osakioduwa will be returning as the show's host for a 3rd time, alongside Obiasika, who will also be judging his 3rd season. Superstar singer-songwriter Simi and multi-award-winning entertainer The Bench are also back for a 2nd time, ensuring the band stays together. And finally, on entertainment tonight, popular Nigerian comedian Bright Okpocha, popularly known as Basket Mouth, has announced that he would be quitting professional comedy in 5 years' time. The stand-up comedian revealed this in an interview with media shared on their Instagram account. The father of 3 said that he wants to be remembered for something other than comedy, adding that he is now into movies, series, and concert production. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You've been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, wishing you a terrific night rest. Bye-bye for now.